In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The Kaaba in Mecca, the most sacred site in Islam, is not merely a physical building made of stone. It functions as a spiritual and cosmic focal point for Muslims all over the world, reflecting a greater universal order. This idea is deeply rooted in the Qur'an and Hadith, and modern scientific perspectives also strengthen the view that the Kaaba's central position aligns with the dynamics of the universe itself, from the smallest particles to the largest celestial bodies. In Surah Yasin, Allah says that each is floating in an orbit. This verse captures a deep reality. Everything in the universe, whether stars, planets, or even atoms, moves within its own orbit. On a larger scale, the orbits of planets, moons, and stars throughout the universe resemble the circular movement around the Kaaba. Just as Muslims move around the Kaaba in perfect harmony during worship, celestial bodies revolve around their centers of gravity in an ordered and precise way.
Did you know that planets, stars, and even galaxies move in a counterclockwise direction? What is remarkable is that this same movement is reflected in the tawaf around the Kaaba. Just as planets revolve around the sun and galaxies spiral around their centers in a counterclockwise motion, Muslims perform tawaf around the Kaaba in the same counterclockwise direction. This powerful parallel highlights a deep connection between cosmic order and this sacred act of worship, symbolizing that both the universe and human devotion move in harmony around a single central point. When we move from the vast scale of galaxies and stars to the smaller scale, we see similar patterns at the atomic level. In atomic physics, electrons move around the nucleus in orbits, much like planets orbit the sun. The atomic model, with a dense nucleus at its center and electrons revolving around it, reflects the Kaaba's role as the center of human spiritual life, with people circling around it in worship. In many ancient cultures and spiritual traditions, there is the concept of an axis mundi, a central point that connects the heavens and the earth. This axis is believed to be the spiritual center of the world, the place where the divine and the physical meet. If such a concept holds true, then that central point must be the Kaaba. Beit al-Ma'mur, also known as the frequented house, is described as the heavenly counterpart of the Kaaba, the house of Allah. It exists beyond the human realm and is located directly above the Kaaba in the highest heaven, the seventh heaven. Above it is the throne of Allah. This sacred house is mentioned in the Qur'an, where Allah swears by the house in the heavens, which corresponds to the Kaaba in Mecca, and which is continuously visited by the angels. Now, let us move toward the mathematics of this location. Have you ever wondered why Allah, the Almighty, specifically chose Mecca as the sacred land where Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was commanded to build the Kaaba? What makes this place so special, not only spiritually, but also geographically and mathematically? In Surah Al-Imran, verse 96, Allah declares that the first house of worship established for humanity is the one at Bakka, a blessed place and a guidance for all people. In this verse, Allah specifically mentions the sacred city of Mecca, referred to as Bakka. When we examine the structure of this verse more closely, we find that it contains 47 letters in total, and 27 letters appear before the word Bakka. When we compare the number of letters before this word with the total number of letters in the verse, the ratio we obtain is approximately 1.74, a value strikingly close to the golden ratio. Before we move further into the geographical significance of Mecca, this numerical harmony invites reflection on the deeper design behind this sacred location. Next, it is essential to understand the golden ratio. The golden ratio, often represented by the Greek letter phi, is a number that appears across many areas of mathematics, nature, and art. Its approximate value is 1.618, but it can also be expressed as a relationship between two quantities. In this relationship, the ratio of the larger part to the smaller part is the same as the ratio of the whole to the larger part. In simple terms, the golden ratio is a proportion that is widely considered visually pleasing and naturally balanced. It occurs when a whole is divided into two parts in such a way that the relationship between the two parts mirrors the relationship between the whole and its larger portion. This ratio is not merely a theoretical idea. It is a fundamental constant that appears repeatedly in both natural formations and human-made structures. From the spirals of seashells to the precise proportions of the Parthenon in ancient Greece, the golden ratio represents balance, symmetry, and a deep sense of order within the universe.
Another elegant expression of the golden ratio can be found in the Fibonacci sequence. This is a series of numbers that begins with 0 and 1, where each following number is the sum of the two numbers before it. As the sequence progresses and the numbers grow larger, the ratio between consecutive Fibonacci numbers comes closer and closer to the golden ratio. Through this sequence, the golden ratio becomes deeply embedded in both abstract mathematics and the physical patterns we observe in the real world. The history of the golden ratio stretches back thousands of years. Ancient mathematicians and philosophers, especially in Greece, admired it for its beauty and harmony. The Pythagoreans, a secretive group of mathematicians in ancient Greece, were among the earliest to study this ratio in geometry and music. They discovered that the golden ratio appears within the pentagram, a five-pointed star that they viewed as a powerful symbol of balance, harmony, and proportion. One of the most influential early studies of the golden ratio came from Euclid, often called the father of geometry. Around 300 BCE, in his famous work Elements, he described this ratio as the extreme and mean ratio and demonstrated its use in geometric constructions, particularly in the formation of regular pentagons. However, it was during the Renaissance that the golden ratio gained widespread recognition and influence. During this period, artists, architects, and scholars were rediscovering the classical ideals of beauty and proportion that had been honored in ancient Greece and Rome. Luca Pacioli, an Italian mathematician, wrote a treatise in 1509 titled De Divina Proportione, meaning the divine proportion. This work explored the mathematical properties and artistic applications of the golden ratio. The illustrations for this book were created by none other than Leonardo da Vinci, who also applied the golden ratio in many of his own masterpieces. One of the most fascinating aspects of the golden ratio is how frequently it appears in nature. It is often called the fingerprint of God, or a universal constant, because it shows up in countless natural patterns and phenomena. This widespread presence suggests that nature itself may be structured around this proportion. With its approximate value of 1.618, the golden ratio has long captured the attention of scientists and mathematicians due to its appearance across many fields, ranging from biology and cosmology to the proportions of the human body. This brings us to the golden ratio as it appears in plants and natural growth patterns, where this divine proportion becomes clearly visible in the living world. Let us explore how the golden ratio appears in plants, the cosmos, and the human body in greater detail. Plants are one of the most clearly recorded examples of how the golden ratio shows up in the natural world. Their growth patterns, the way leaves are arranged, and even the internal structure of their flowers show a highly refined use of this ratio, helping to balance efficiency with natural beauty. In a sunflower, the seeds are arranged in two sets of spirals. One set turns clockwise while the other turns counterclockwise. The number of spirals in each direction often follows the Fibonacci sequence, and the ratio between these numbers closely matches the golden ratio.
This design allows the seeds to be packed together in the most efficient way possible, making full use of the space at the center of the flower. The arrangement of leaves around a plant's stem, known as phyllotaxis, also often follows the Fibonacci sequence, which is directly linked to the golden ratio. This pattern is not random or accidental. It helps plants receive the maximum amount of sunlight while reducing the shadows cast by other leaves, which improves the overall efficiency of photosynthesis. The number of petals found in many flowers is also frequently a Fibonacci number. For example, lilies have 3 petals, buttercups have 5 petals, and daisies can have 34, 55, or even 89 petals. All of these numbers belong to the Fibonacci sequence. Plant growth itself follows the golden ratio in the way new branches, leaves, and flowers develop. The famous Fibonacci sequence can be seen in the branching patterns of trees, where the growth of new branches reflects this order. A single trunk divides into 2 main branches, which later divide into 3 smaller branches, and this pattern continues, following Fibonacci proportions.
The presence of the golden ratio extends far beyond Earth's natural environment and reaches deep into the vastness of space. It appears in the structures of galaxies, the movement of planetary orbits, and even in the extreme physics of black holes. The same mathematical harmony that guides plant growth on Earth also seems to shape the cosmos. One of the most striking examples of the golden ratio in space is found in spiral galaxies. Many galaxies, including our own Milky Way, form spiral patterns that closely resemble a logarithmic spiral, a shape directly connected to the golden ratio. In this structure, the arms of the galaxy rotate outward from the center while keeping a consistent angle, creating a form that looks balanced, stable, and visually harmonious. The golden ratio has also been observed in the spacing and orbital patterns of planets, especially within our solar system. The distances between planets and the Sun often come close to golden ratio proportions. Johannes Kepler, one of the founders of modern astronomy, was deeply interested in the idea that planetary motion followed geometric laws. His studies suggested that the ratios between planetary distances followed harmonic principles, including the golden ratio. This proportional balance helps explain why planets remain in stable orbits, with gravity working in a way that reduces chaos and preserves order in the solar system. In more recent studies of black holes, especially when examining the structure of their event horizons, scientists have found intriguing connections to the golden ratio. The event horizon is the boundary around a black hole beyond which nothing, not even light, can escape. Some research suggests that its proportions may align with the golden ratio. The dynamics of how black holes form, how they grow, and the patterns of gravitational waves released when 2 black holes collide may also reflect the influence of the golden ratio. Some cosmologists have even proposed that the golden ratio could be woven into the very fabric of space-time itself. For example, physicist Max Tegmark from MIT has suggested that the fundamental constants of the universe, such as the speed of light or the gravitational constant, may relate to the golden ratio in ways we do not yet fully understand. To fully understand this idea, we must look at how the proportions of the human body also follow the golden ratio. Ancient Greek sculptors, such as Polykleitos, used the golden ratio when creating their statues to achieve what they believed was the ideal human form. The ancient canon of beauty often relied on dividing the body into parts that reflected this ratio, creating harmony and balance in the human figure. There are many examples of the golden ratio in the human body. These include the ratio between the length of the forearm and the hand, the ratio of the distance from the navel to the floor compared to the total height of the body, and the ratio between the lengths of each finger bone. The bones in the human hand follow the Fibonacci sequence, showing a clear mathematical pattern. The golden ratio also appears in the proportions of the human torso. For example, the ratio of the length of the head to the length of the torso, or the ratio of the upper arm to the forearm often comes close to 1.618. This proportional relationship plays a role in how we perceive symmetry, balance, and beauty in the human form. The human heart, one of the most important organs in the body, also shows structures that align with the golden ratio. The shape of the heart's ventricles and the spiral patterns of the cardiac muscle fibers resemble the logarithmic spirals found throughout nature, which are governed by the golden ratio. This structure allows the heart to pump blood efficiently throughout the body by following these natural proportions. In addition, the timing between heartbeats during a normal rhythm follows a fractal pattern that is linked to the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. This fractal behavior helps the body maintain balance, stability, and efficient circulation, supporting overall health and internal regulation. The golden ratio is even present at the smallest levels of life. The ratio of the length of a DNA molecule's double helix to its width is approximately 1.618. This suggests that the same mathematical harmony guiding galaxies and plants is also built into the foundation of human biology.
Beyond the body, the golden ratio appears in the world of music as well. The frequencies of musical notes, the structure of musical scales, and the spacing between harmonics often follow patterns related to this ratio. Composers such as Johann Sebastian Bach and Ludwig van Beethoven used these principles in their compositions, creating music that feels deeply balanced and mathematically satisfying to listeners. By now, the importance of the golden ratio should be clear. It reminds us that mathematics is not merely a tool for measuring the world. It is a gateway into understanding the deeper order, harmony, and structure of reality itself. Now, let us talk about the geography of Mecca and how it relates to the golden ratio. Mecca is often described as the golden mean point of the Earth. It is located at approximately 21.42 degrees north latitude and 39.82 degrees east longitude, placing it at a fascinating meeting point between physical geography and deep spiritual meaning. Muslims all over the world turn toward Mecca during their daily prayers as a sign of unity and alignment with a sacred direction. Every year, the pilgrimage of Hajj gathers Muslims from many cultures, nations, and backgrounds into one shared act of worship, further highlighting Mecca's role as a universal center for humanity. Beyond its spiritual importance, Mecca's geographic position opens the possibility that it may also be a mathematical center of the Earth. When we look at the Earth in terms of its size and proportions, Mecca appears to sit at a point of balance. The Earth is vast, divided into continents, oceans, and regions, but if we imagine it as a geometric body, Mecca seems to occupy a special position. Many researchers and thinkers have suggested that Mecca's location corresponds closely to the golden mean of the Earth. This idea proposes that Mecca lies at a perfectly balanced proportional distance between the Earth's extremes, meaning it is not only central to the Muslim world, but symbolically central to the entire planet, aligned with the principles of the golden ratio.
This is where the spiritual meaning of Mecca blends with the mathematical beauty found throughout nature. One of the strongest arguments for Mecca's alignment with the golden ratio comes from comparing the distances between Mecca and the Earth's poles. If we think of the Earth as stretching from the North Pole to the South Pole, Mecca's position falls very close to what would be expected for a golden ratio point. The golden ratio is often expressed by comparing parts of a whole, where one section relates to the other in a harmonious proportion. When we examine the distance from Mecca to the North Pole and compare it with the distance from Mecca to the South Pole, an interesting pattern emerges. The distance from Mecca to the North Pole is about 7,624 kilometers, while the distance from Mecca to the South Pole is about 12,390 kilometers. When we calculate the ratio between these two distances, we get a value of around 1.625, which is very close to the golden ratio value of 1.618. If we reverse the calculation and divide the distance to the South Pole by the distance to the North Pole, we get approximately 0.615, which closely matches the reciprocal of the golden ratio. This suggests that Mecca divides the Earth's northern and southern hemispheres in a way that reflects the same harmonious proportions seen throughout nature. This proportional balance can be understood symbolically. The North and South poles represent the extreme ends of the Earth's axis, and Mecca, positioned between them, can be seen as a point of harmony and balance. It appears as a physical expression of equilibrium, reflecting the same balance that the golden ratio represents in art, biology, and the structure of the universe. Another important aspect of Mecca's location relates to the Earth's circumference. The Earth is not a perfect sphere, but an oblate spheroid, meaning its shape slightly bulges at the equator. Because of this, the Earth's circumference changes depending on where it is measured. The most common measurement is around the equator, where the circumference is about 40,075 kilometers. This measurement serves as a reference point for understanding other proportional relationships.
Using the mathematical formula for calculating circumference at different latitudes, the Earth's circumference at Mecca's latitude comes out to approximately 37,268 kilometers. When this value is compared to the Earth's total equatorial circumference, we once again see a proportional relationship that echoes the golden ratio. This alignment suggests that Mecca's location on the Earth's surface is not random, but instead reflects a deeper geometric order pointing toward a cosmic design and a point of balance within the Earth's structure. To further understand Mecca's mathematical significance, we can also look at its longitude and its distance from major meridians. A meridian is an imaginary line running from the North Pole to the South Pole, used to measure longitude. The prime meridian, set at 0 degrees longitude, passes through Greenwich in England, while the 180-degree meridian lies on the opposite side of the Earth. Mecca's longitude is approximately 39.82 degrees east. The eastern elongation is the distance from Mecca to the prime meridian, while the western elongation is the distance from Mecca to the 180-degree meridian. The distance from Mecca to the 0-degree meridian is about 13,320 kilometers, and the distance from Mecca to the 180-degree meridian is about 15,600 kilometers. When we calculate the ratio between these two distances, we get a value close to 1.17, which again shows a harmonic proportion related to the golden ratio. Once more, Mecca's position reflects the same balanced relationships found in nature's most harmonious designs. These repeated alignments strongly suggest that Mecca occupies a central role not only in spiritual terms, but also in the mathematical structure of the Earth. This idea goes beyond simple coincidence and finds resonance in the Qur'an itself. In Surah Al-Imran, verse 96, Allah declares that the first house of worship established for humanity is the one at Mecca, a blessed place and a guidance for all people. In this verse, Mecca is referred to as Becca, emphasizing its sacred and foundational role. Interestingly, even the structure of this verse shows a mathematical pattern. The verse contains 47 letters in total, and 27 letters appear before the word Becca. When we compare the number of letters before Becca with the total number of letters, the ratio is approximately 1.74, a value that is again close to the golden ratio. This numerical harmony within the verse further strengthens the idea that Mecca and the Kaaba reflect a deeper mathematical order woven into creation.
Through the analysis of Mecca's geographic position, its distances to the poles, its relation to the Earth's circumference, and its longitudinal placement, it becomes clear that Mecca holds a unique and balanced position. These measurements and ratios suggest that Mecca can be seen as a symbolic center, aligned with the golden mean in both geometric and spiritual senses. While these findings are deeply fascinating, they also point to a larger truth about the universe, where natural patterns and mathematical principles intersect seamlessly. Mecca, as the site of the Kaaba, remains a place of immense spiritual and physical importance. It embodies balance, harmony, and order, reflecting the same principles found in the golden ratio. From both a mathematical and spiritual perspective, Mecca can indeed be understood as the golden mean of the Earth, harmonizing the forces of the cosmos with the geometry of our planet.